Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies, where we're going to do some pocket talk. Steve Sparky, Fifer from the Wendy's Big Show on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP. Of course, Gery Woelfel from the Racine Journal-Times. Find all of his great work here at RacineSportsZone.com. The Packers tied. They tied the Vikings. They didn't win. They didn't lose, but they tied, and they tied a horrible football team. And the Vikings, they weren't good enough to win. Scott Tolzien started. Not so good. Matt Flynn came in the second half and rallied. And Mike McCarthy, who was quick to the draw last week and naming Scott Tolzien the starter right away, even though I hadn't even seen Matt Flynn in practice that week, now is saying, I don't know who the starter is. We're going to have to wait and see. And for me, it's a no-brainer. It should be Matt Flynn.
Oh, I can agree with you more. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I really thought Flynn would be the bridge to when Rodgers gets back. And he showed enough to me in that second half to say, hey, he is clearly the best quarterback they have available. And the thing that really impressed me about Flynn, and I'm not rapping Tolzien. I thought Tolzien did a tremendous job under the circumstances. But where I really liked Flynn was he would come to the line, and it was almost like Rodgers-esque.
Yes.
He'd get up there, he'd analyze the defense, he'd audible. I mean, he had complete grasp of the system. I mean, you could just see the difference between he and Tolzien.
I totally agree. He definitely had good grasp of it. Now the defense on the other side wasn't so good. You knew Christian Ponder couldn't throw the football, and you brought up a 4-forward type defense where you had 4 linebackers and 4 defensive linemen, essentially playing with 3 guys in the secondary. Toby Gerhart averaged over 10 yards a carry on you, and AP torched you as well. Now, you expect AP, but Toby Gerhart doing what he did, that's inexcusable.
Well, you know what was beautiful, though? And I give the Vikings coaching staff a lot of credit. They didn't bring him in until the second half, basically. And he was fresh and hungry, and he's a big back.
And you've been pounding on the Packers for an entire
Exactly. And it just worked out beautifully for the Vikings. The one thing I noticed, though, is the Packers' defensive line, which I thought was really good.
And remember, you didn't have Jolly. That game. He was
correct. But even like Raji, I mean, they're talking about giving this guy $8 million a year, and to me, he is anything but an $8 million player.
I think it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday, was the 2-year anniversary of B.J. Raji's last sack.
There you go. Case close. I mean, it's nice.
But the argument is being made. Gilbert Brown was on the Big Show yesterday and was fuming about this Packers defense. But he said, look, this should be a 4-3 defense, and he should be playing the 3-point position. Where the 3-technique position, the 3-technique position, where back in the day when you had Reggie, Santana, and Gilbert, that's the position that Santana played. He said he'd be a Pro Bowler the first year if you put him at that position in a 4-3 defense. They're wasting his talent playing him where they're playing him. Pickett then would play where Gilbert plays, played. So those would be your 2 tackles in a 4-3. And then you would have Nick Perry at one end, and you could have Mike Neal at another, or whatever you decided to do at the other end position. Now, again, I don't think they're going to do that. I agree with Gilbert. I think that would be the best way because you have 4-3 personnel. Now, Mike McCarthy just does an interview with, I think it was Rob Demoski, and during this entire interview, McCarthy is talking about, hey, it's not on my coaching staff. This is not on Capers. This is not on his assistants. I know what the game plan is. I know they're great teachers is what they do. They put them in a position to succeed. We get leverage. We have the perfect fit. Everything's there, and then we miss a tackle. And so during that whole thing, if you read
and you know
what McCarthy's pretty much saying without saying it is, I don't got the guys.
Yeah, you know
that's pretty much what he's saying. I don't got the guys.
And you know what? I totally agree with Gilbert Brown. I could see a 4-3 being a better system for the Packers. But I also agree with McCarthy. I never saw the Packers, well, I shouldn't say never, miss so many tackles.
Yeah, you've seen a lot of Packer teams.
But A.J. Hawk has been exceptional this year. He was horrible Sunday.
Brutal.
He missed 3 tackles that turned out to be large gains. I mean, and that's where the system's designed. Your defensive front holds up the offensive lineman, and the linebackers got to make the plays. The linebackers didn't make the plays.
This team needs 2 new middle linebackers because Hawk and Brad Jones can both be gone for all I care. Mm-hmm. They still don't have another outside linebacker opposite of Clay Matthews because Nick Perry's hurt all the time, so you can't consider that. As far as I'm concerned, you can get 2 new safeties because Morgan Burnett is average at best, and the other safety position is just brutally bad with MD Jennings and everybody else they've got back there. So that can be moved on. And you have to figure out on the offensive line what that's going to look like next year because you're going to get Bulaga back next year. Now, where's Bulaga going to play? Do you like Bakhtiari enough to leave him at left tackle and put Bulaga at right tackle next year? And you have Derek Sherrod.
That's what I would do.
Right, but you also have Derek Sherrod, who was drafted to play on the left side.
Yeah, you don't know if he's going to be ready and how long he's
Well, he's active.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He's active, and if Newhouse gets hurt, Sherrod comes in. Now, let's address that. Marshall Newhouse is one of the worst offensive linemen I've seen in Green Bay in quite a while. He reminds me of Tony Mandridge at times.
Oh,
that is how bad he is.
That is a beautiful comparison.
Okay, so how bad is Derek Sherrod that he can't get on the field right now over Marshall Newhouse?
I agree. That's what I'm saying.
Newhouse struggles in the first half of that game. You're going, okay, well, Flynn comes in, well, Sherrod's going to come in too then, and Newhouse is still out there.
No, I mean, they got to have a bunch of linemen going forward. Every year somebody gets banged up. They just can't rely on these guys to play 16 regular season games.
Well, don't forget, you're going to get J.C. Treader back, who they drafted this year, who they like.
Right.
He's going to back up Evan Dietrich Smith if he's able to play. The offensive line next year is going to be a deep position.
I think it's going to be fine. Yeah, there won't be any issues there. I mean, that's the last thing they should draft is offensive lineman. Just forget about it.
I agree.
Take everyone off your draft board. Hey, 2 things, though, from that game. One, this is my pet peeve for years now. When are officials going to become accountable? Specifically late in the first half, do you remember when Burnett laid out the guy, caught the pass, and they called him?
Hit him in the back.
Yeah, hit him right in the back. I mean, there was nothing illegal about it.
It was a defenseless receiver.
He caught the ball.
It doesn't matter. He was going to the ground. He was already tackled. Burnett hit him as he was going to the ground in his back. He was going to the ground and Burnett hit him. Now look, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing with you that was a stupid flag. But based on the rule, he made the right call. He was a defenseless receiver. A, he didn't see him. B, he was already being tackled.
The commentators didn't agree.
Of course.
And they both played football, or one of them did.
That's right.
But my point is, they ran the play back 3 or 4 times. We see the culprit. We see the guys involved. But we never hear who the official is. There should be some accountability of saying, hey, the call is made by the line judge,
right.
The field judge, whatever official made the call. And then the second half, there were 2 other bogus calls. And yet, nobody puts these guys on the spot, makes them accountable, and everybody goes, oh, they're officials, they're neutral. We have seen shoddy officials and officials on the take in the past.
The NFL grades them out. And then the better referees get to go to the postseason.
Correct.
Right. And then you have the Super Bowl crew as well. Mm-hmm. And you get huge bumps in pay as far as per game pay for as far as you go. So if you get a wild card game, it's a nice bump in pay for what normally is a regular season game. If you get a divisional game, that's another bump. You get a championship game, another bump. Super Bowl, big money if you're one of those umps on those crews. So there is incentive, obviously, for them to be as good as they can be to get that extra cash at the end of the year.
I'm just saying that if on 2 or 3 plays in a game that are critical, those officials should be subjected to media interrogation after the game.
Media interrogation?
How's that for a term?
This is why the media has a bad image. This guy,
you're saying these jokes.
Interrogation?
Absolutely.
It's going to cop us to a possible criminal.
That could be.
To a referee.
Hey, he might have cost the Packers the season, you know that? But I'm saying there's just not enough accountability with officials. And it's been that way for years. They're protected, and if they make a bad call, so be it. The league office is going to take care of it, and nobody knows about it. A player makes a penalty on the field. They stop the game and announce the guy, number 55, was called for holding, and they call him out. But yet, an official can do whatever he wants, and there's no accountability except when they review the film on Mondays.
Let's get to one other thing before we wrap up another edition of Pack Talk here at ReceiptSportsZone.com. This overtime rule that the NFL has, do you like it?
Horrible.
What would you do?
sudden death. Whoever scores first,
Like it was.
game's over. You know, I just cracked up when they deferred.
It was smart.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, okay, it was smart because of what? I'm talking about the game with
Belichick?
Yeah, Belichick.
Because of the wind.
Absolutely.
You could see the ball flailing and diving in the air for Peyton Manning.
I agree.
It was a great call by Belichick. Now, most times,
I still don't think it was a great call. Because if you play, under the rules, it's a great call. But if you play sudden death, the team that scores first, game should be over.
It should be
put pressure on the defense right away.
It should be the college rules. That's what I want. If you want drama, then put the ball at the 20, 25-yard line and give them a shot.
That's
drama.
That is so amateurish.
No, that's drama. And now you're going to see who's going to win.
That's not how football's played.
Yes, it is. I watch it on Saturdays. That's exactly how football's played.
You kick off. That's so ridiculous. High school and college football is just so amateur.
I would rather have it that way because we're talking about drama increasing TV ratings. Everybody's gathered around the TV watching. Now, if you don't want to do that, then I'm fine with touchdown wins. Otherwise, the other team gets a chance.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that rule. But if you're going to play a full quarter and it's tied like it was, then play another quarter. If it's still tied, play another quarter.
Well, you know why they do that.
But in the next quarter,
they're protecting the players from that standpoint because they feel like, hey, you played this long, you could get a serious injury at some point.
Right. They are.
I think that's a play. That might even be a player, NFL Players Association.
Well, then fine. Then I want to do it the contrary. Then
I totally agree with not going beyond one overtime.
Physically,
these players, physically and mentally, they're drained.
I either want the college system or add an additional quarter. The one thing I do not want I do not want ties. And your way still gets ties. So I don't want ties.
What's your problem with ties?
What is the point? I paid my money to go to a game to see somebody win and lose, not to see somebody tie. You wasted my whole afternoon to see a tie. Nobody even won the stupid game.
Yeah, that's true.
Complete waste of time. He's Gery Woelfel. I'm Steve Sparky Fifer. We're done wasting our time here for another edition of Packet Talk. You think this got interesting?
Commissioner Fifer here.
If you think this
is, call you the commissioner now on.
If you thought this was interesting, wait till you see the Bucks one.
Yes.
That's coming up right here. Sports Junkies at RacinSportsZone.com.